In September, I had to think of what month we're in. We're doing a series on how Jesus lived and how we might learn from his actions as examples for us. So that's our intention. And, you know, we take everything metaphysically. So here we go. I was really guided to do this topic of non-resistance. And I will tell you that working with it, it's not as easy as you would think, non-resistance. So let me just start with our definition. You know, we teach the 15 metaphysical laws in Metaphysics 3. So those in Metaphysics 3 now, isn't it fun? Yeah. So fun, so fun. So the law of non-resistance is this. Allow the outer to flow through you without opinion or judgment. Allow the outer to flow through you without opinion or judgment. What you resist persists. Metaphysics 101, what you resist persists. Honor your own power by honoring the choices of others. Breathe that in. See? Service is over. If we could just get that law down. So when we start looking at resistance, let's take a look at what it really is. Are you aware that you have resistance in your body toward things? Resistance, in our understanding, is when you take a stand against something. You're resisting something. When you look it up, it says, resistance is to oppose with force. It is a firm opposition. It is a force that tends to oppose or retard motion. So in resistance, you go into a space of consciousness where there is no resolution, there's no conclusion, and there is no release. Have you ever been in resistance for any extended period of time? Do you know the pain of being stuck? It is an energy of non-motion when you're in resistance. And the energy of stuck actually becomes unhealthy. Okay? So often when you're in resistance to something, there is really no workable solution that you even have to offer. Often you're in resistance to something, and the thing or object you're in resistance to might say, what is your suggestion? And you have none. Just stop what you're doing. Just stop what you believe. Just stop it because you're irritating me. Has anybody been there? Or had someone say that to you when they're in resistance to you? So resistance is a stuck energy that does not allow you to see potential or movement. So when we are in a resistance, we might be afraid. We're definitely not willing to see another vantage point. So what you resist persists. So realize this energetically. When you have energy, it's like there's a force here that you may not like. And when you start resisting it, you literally will push against it. You're pushing against this force, and what you're literally doing is creating a wall. Do you understand? And how much energy do you think you have to continually exert to maintain resistance against this? A lot is the correct answer. You have to continually exert a lot of energy in order to maintain the wall to resist whatever you're resisting. And the more energy you put toward it, guess what that does to what this is? It empowers it. It strengthens it because it's getting fed that energy that you're creating. You're focused on it, it's getting fed. So the amount that you resist is being multiplied by what you're resisting. So it's equal, it becomes equal, stronger, 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 stronger. How's that sound? Like fun? Okay. Everything that you do that toward, you can see how it sticks your energy, you can see how it depletes your energy, and you can see how it really denies you forward motion. Just say you can. I can. Okay. Okay, I'm going to take us to the deep dive first. We're deep diving first. This is chapter 97 in the Aquarian. This is Jesus is doing the Sermon on the Mount. So I'm going to just start 97. I'm starting with 13 to give you the stage. If you owe anything to any man and cannot pay, there's a stage. Who's in debt? Who's in debt? You are. And He claims a greater sum than is his due. It is not well that you dispute the claim. Resistance is the sire of anger. When you start moving into resistance, you're likely going to slide right into anger, because anger is the power to continue the resistance. Anger gives you power. There is no mercy and no reason in an angry man. Okay? I owe is a fact. Anybody have one of those debts that the interest rate multiplies? Yes, like student loans, I think they do that with them. And there's others that it's just you end up owing more in interest than you did in the initial debt. None of these people out here can relate, but maybe somebody in Cyberland can. And then don't you get mad? Dang it! Rawr! That is not what I signed up for. Why didn't I read that fine print? I would have signed it anyway. Oh, man. Because I needed it at the time. So, what Jesus is saying, it's better to suffer the loss than go to law or call upon the courts of men to judge. The carnal of the law, the carnal law of man, would say, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, resist encroachment on your rights. Now, isn't that true today? Resist encroachments on your rights. Stand up, fight that, fight. And he's saying this is not the law of God. Holy breath would say, resist not him who would deprive you of your goods. He who would take your coat by force is still a brother man, and you should gain his heart, by which resistance cannot be done. Give him your coat, offer him more and more. In time he will rise above being the brute, and you will have saved him from himself. Now, in order to put this into context, in the Jewish construct, they wore their clothing. They would wear all the clothes that they had, apparently, and there would be layers of coats and cloaks and stuff that they would have on. So if a man asks for your outer garment, give it to him. Now, we know metaphysically, if I have an outer garment, I have the consciousness of owning an outer garment, which means, am I going to be without an outer garment very long? No, because by right of consciousness, I'm going to get another outer garment because I own it. So if I give him my outer garment or my cloak or whatever, I'm not going to be without it long because it is my consciousness that owns having it. His consciousness does not. Is he going to keep my cloak very long? Probably not. He'll probably lose it sometime because his consciousness is that of lack. But because you were generous in doing it, he is moved. I will tell you a story that I don't know the details of, but I'll paraphrase it because that's what I remember. Dr. Rocco Errico, who is a Aramaic scholar and who studied with, it was George Loms's, was his mentor. Apparently George Lomsa tells a story, this is Iran back in the day, like 1900s, we're way back. And George Lomsa was born there in Iran in the same culture that Jesus was raised in. Anyway, I don't know if it was he himself or a friend that he knew. Bandits came, and they started to rob them. And the character in play, whoever it was, his friend or himself, started to take his clothes off. Here, yeah. And then the bandit wasn't even asking. He goes, oh, do you need this umbrella? You might need my umbrella. And he just kept giving the guy everything that he had because that was his consciousness that he knew he would be provided for, and the bandit didn't have it. So he freely shared in a loving, cooperative manner the one who was demanding the goods. The bandit was confused, and I think he took the umbrella anyway. But the man who had the experience was joyful even while it was going on, because he knew he was in the pocket. He knew he was in God's love, he was in God's light, and the bandit just wanted stuff. He really didn't want to hurt anybody. You hear what I'm saying? Take it. God's going to bring me more. Do you hear the difference in consciousness that Jesus is teaching? Jesus is teaching, quit fighting your brother man for stuff and take your eye to God and start breathing in the abundance that is yours by divine right. And if you can live that truth, you will bless everybody because it's a shift in consciousness for you. So he goes on to say, if anyone comes at you in force, don't fight back. Forgive and move on. Try to be merciful to your foes, is what he says. We were on our walk with Patrick, and he said yesterday, he goes, Jesus was right. It's easier to love your friends than your foes. And he was just joking about something. But it is right. It's easier to love those you love than those that you don't. But he said, be merciful, love people, try to see them as children of God. Remember, you are the children of God who makes his sun arise on the evil and the good, who sends his rain upon the just and the unjust. If you do unto other men as they do to you, you are slaves and followers in the way to death. If you as children of the light, must lead the way. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. When you do good to those who have done good to you, you do no more than other men. If you salute your friends and not your foes, you are like other men. Be perfect as your Father in heaven is. And in that connotation of perfect, it means inclusive, all inclusive with all things. So are you seeing how Jesus is trying to lift us up into a space where our eye is not on the physical? Our eye is on spirit. So how do we get there? How do we move from looking at the physical, especially when it's creating a physical problem for us, an issue? Most of us are not in fear of our lives, are we? Maybe some, but most of us are safe enough in our world. We've created a world where we're safe enough. But you still have energies that come at you that may not be so loving. You still have a whole group of people that you could start listing that would be annoyances to you. Maybe some of you even have enemies. I don't know how much you dislike. But you hear what I'm saying? And it's not just the people, it's the situations. Maybe the situation is not working for you. So how do we move from feeling that we need to resist a condition into shifting our eye to the laws of spirit? So one of the first things to understand is what Jesus did, is just learn to stand in your truth. If you can know what's true for you and stand in it, then you won't be derailed so much by the things that are happening. And get one baseline of what's true for you. One baseline of what's true for you. When what you resist persists, so if we learn to love ourselves in any given situation, for example, I counsel people who have bosses that do not see them and who are unkind to them. It's true. It happens. It's true. Boss is mean and does not see them as a human being. So what do they want to do? They want to resist. They want to tell them what's up. They want to show them, blah, blah. And what I tell them is, they'll never see you. They don't see you now. They're not going to see you when you are in their face yelling at them. What are you missing? You are missing recognition. You are missing in your energy field being recognized. Maybe you need to recognize yourself. Maybe you need to say to yourself every day, I am a fabulous worker at this company, man. I am fabulous. Maybe you need to give yourself what you think the boss is withholding from you. Now, if you walk in and the boss is all mean and crunchy, and you're loving yourself and saying, I am fabulous, do you think you hear his crunchy words? Where's your focus? So I'm being fabulous. It's on me. It's on my spirit. I learned this the hard way in my life, in jobs. I learned this the hard way. And I developed very, very young in my metaphysical application years. This job serves me. That's why I'm here. I'm going to give my gift, I'm going to get my check, and I'm going to go home and have my family and my life. This job serves me. I do not serve it. Do you hear what I'm saying? I freely, lovingly, and willingly bring my gift, and I am fabulous. Bring me my paycheck, thank you very much, and I'm on my life. And when Spirit tells me to move to the next job, guess what? Adios, guys. I'm now going to another job that's going to serve me on my path of where I need to be. That's having my eye on Spirit instead of, does my boss like me? Is he going to give me a raise? Is he going to give me a review I want? You know, my story's on that. You know, you can still be fabulous and they may not see it. So keeping your eye on you and your spiritual nature. And this goes across the board for all situations, your love life, everything. What am I resisting that's going to persist? You might ask, what am I missing that I can give myself? What am I missing that I can give myself? Is that making sense to everybody? All right. Okay. When you are in resistance to anything, it makes it hard to receive anything. When you are in resistance in this pocket, it actually blocks all of your energy to some degree. If I'm not moving forward here, have you ever tried to drag a block with you and move forward? It's hard. I'm pulling, I'm trying, but there's this resistance that I have to something else that I'm investing so much energy in that it's blocking me from forward motion. Spirit said one space of resistance in your consciousness can stop all of your forward motion because once again, where's our focus? We're resisting something in the outer. And it takes our inner motors to go forward. Okay? Resistance becomes, and when resistance becomes an acceptable part of me, how many of us take pride in what we resist? We do. It's my identity. I'm not doing that. I do not like those people. I'm going to stand right here. I do not like those people. And you can put that on my epitaph. I don't like them. That's part of who I am. And then we get power in being resistant, and we get power in being uncooperative. How much forward motion do we have? None. Have you ever known somebody that was known to be resistant at a certain level? And then they stay there. They are the person that is, blop. And they take great pride in it. And they may grow the resistance and get more skilled at it because they're focusing more energy into it. Okay? So when resistance becomes an acceptable part of you in any way, I would caution you to look at it because it's going to start blocking your forward motion. If I may share, I was speaking with someone just the other day who is a member of our church who I love dearly, and she said something horrible had happened, and she goes, I'm just going to be so mad. I'm just going to be so mad. And she goes, Cindy, can I just be mad for a minute? And I said, yeah, if you want to create a spot of negativity in your field, and go ahead. Be mad for a minute. She goes, oh, man, I never thought of it that way. It's like, yeah. Because you're sending negativity to the people you're mad at. You're attacking. But I'm only going to do it for 5. Yeah. It'll stay there for a while. So we need to truly begin to understand resistance in any level shifts our field to the outer. Got it? To the outer. I don't have Patrick this morning feeding me my books. This is Love Without End, and this is what Glenda Green wrote. She's the one that spoke with Jesus while she painted him. It's a beautiful book, but this is her words. I wanted to share this with you. This is in the very beginning. She's talking about her time and what she was growing. I began to observe that resistance, problems, and the complexities of life were directly related to my beliefs in certain levels of difficulty. Within the time, energy, or matter, I came to observe for myself that mankind has entered a world more dense and full of conflict and resistance than necessary because of our beliefs, conditionings, and agreements. Are we taught that we need to struggle to become the victors? Are we taught that we need to fight our way through life? Okay, then we're always going to draw this to us, conflict and resistance. She said this, I also was able to observe that when reality expands or elevates to greater possibility, what am I looking at now? What is? Greater possibility, eyes on spirit. A perceivable, that means I can see it, field of light accompanies that change, and there is a sense of an invisible light beyond that visible one, which cannot be seen, that helps with the expansion. When I take my eye off of the programming of this world and go to the potential, the possibilities, I literally feel expanded, and I also feel an inner light that I cannot yet see underneath it. How powerful is that? I think that's amazing. I think that we all come to those moments, but we really need to own it. Acting from a new focus, acting from a spiritual focus allows us to see the potential. I'm going to walk with you now with Jesus. I wanted to share just one quick story. This is when he was 16 years old. I am going to read it to you. this is 24. He has been studying, he's 16, he's been studying with the Brahmic priests for 4 years. And, he studies everything, and they love to hear what he has to say because he's so enlightened. But he finally asked them, tell me about your caste system. So the priests tell him about Brahm, God, who creates Brahman, who is the priest, who is the one level of a caste. And then God, Brahm, created, I may pronounce this incorrectly, I'm sorry, Kshatriya, who are now the rulers. That's one class. And then God created Vishya, the farmers. And that's another class. And then God created the Sudras. And that's the last class. And this is what he says, and I want you to hear. We've got, what do we got? Priest. We got ruler. We got tiller of the soil. Now we have the Sudras. Here's the Sudras. The Sudra is the servant of the race of man. He has no rights and others need to respect. He has no rights that others need to respect. He may not hear the Vedas read, which is their Bible. He may not hear their Bible. It means death to him to look on the face of the priest or the king. He can only look at the toiler of the farmer. And nothing but death can free him from his state of servitude. Now, in your mind, are you going, what? What? I'm resisting that right now. Makes no sense to us, does it? Jesus said this, then your God, Parabrahm, is not a God of justice or right. For with his own strong hand, he exalted one and brought the other low. He's just repeating back what they said. He's repeating back what they said. Then he does this. He turns to God and he says, my Father God, who was and is and evermore shall be, who holds within his hands the scales of justice and right, who is the boundlessness of love, has made all men to be equal. The white, the black, the yellow, the red can look up in thy face and say, our Father God. Thou art Father of the human race, I praise your name. And he was done, and that was his prayer, and the priests were furious. And they started to hurt him, and Lammas, who was his friend, stood in his defense. Lammas stood in his defense and said, if this child is right, we're going to be in big trouble if we hurt this child, because he might be making sense here. Voice of reason, trying to see beyond what is, trying to see spirit. And they calmed the priest down, and then one of them said, he reviled our God in this temple. He has to die. So Lammas, again, pled for Jesus' life, and the priest just took the cords and they drove Jesus from the place. Jesus then spent the remaining few years that he had in that place. Where do you suppose? With the Sudras and the toilers of the field, and he taught them brotherhood. He taught them of God's love. But I want you to see more than anything else, did Jesus stand before those priests and resist them? Or did he stand and just speak what his truth was? He turned to God. He said, I'm not agreeing with you. Father, Mother, God, said his prayer. I know you love us all. I know you love us all. He said his prayer. He turned his eye to spirit. He did not try to change any religion that he met. He learned from them and spoke his truth. That's all. He stayed in his truth. You guys hearing me? All right. Change never comes through force, but you cannot stop truth. In chapter 31, I won't read it to you, Jesus is still in that country. And finally, the priests are really mad because he's really helping the people a lot. He's teaching and talking, and everybody loves him. And so they try to kill him, but they send people to kill him, but there's too many people who love him, and they protect him. And they're afraid of him. They're afraid of the people. So they hire an assassin to kill him. And, of course, Lammas finds out, and they scoot him out. And he travels from there to his next destination by going from house to house to house of all the people that loved him. The universe absolutely vibrates to our consciousness. He was not in resistance to the energy of the people at all. And the universe provided care for him every step of the way. It vibrates to what we believe. He was his truth. He not only stood in it, he was it. And I wanted to share one more with you. Guys hearing me? Share one more with you. This is 86, and this is another time when he's just making people mad. Yeah, this time he's making the Jewish people mad. He's in Nazareth, his hometown. And they're like saying, perform a miracle. And he's going, you guys want me to perform like a magician? I'm not going to do it. That's when he said, no prophet has any honor in his own land. And the people got so mad at him, they rushed upon him, they bound him with cords, and they took him to a precipice, which is, a cliff, not too far away, and they wanted to cast him to death. They have him bound, and they're dragging him to the cliff. But when they thought they held him fast, he disappeared. Unseen, he passed among the angry men and went his way. The people were confounded. They said, what manner of man is this? And when they came again to Nazareth, he was teaching in the synagogue where they had got him in the first place. He went back to the synagogue and started teaching again. He did not even have to resist their hostility. That's why, the whole time he said, no man takes my life except I give it. And his disciples were always afraid that he knew he was going to be crucified. He said, the time hasn't come. When the time comes, I will allow it. Until then, I am vibrating in a space where I'm always in God's care and safety. Do you hear? That is what happens when we have our eye on the spiritual laws instead of our eye on what do we need to resist in this world. You guys getting that? Okay. The right of vibration is so important, and I have so much more to say. Can I just circle back real quick? I'm going to circle back because I'm not going to get it all in. Y'all, so it's a beautiful service, but I want us to think back about the priest, the ruler, the farmer, and the Sudra. Do we actually have parts of us that we would consider Sudras? Do we actually have a part of us that we are mean to? Are you mean to a part of you? Do we have a part of us that we put up on the elite button? Oh, I'm so good when I go to church. Oh, I'm so good when I meditate. But if I'm fighting with my kid, I'm not good anymore. If I'm doing my work, I'm not bringing that high spiritual part of me there. Does your worker, your farmer, look the same as the one who's meditating? I bet some of it's not the same. I bet when we're in our priestly meditation self, we do not look the same. When we're tilling the soil of our labor, we're probably cussing and kicking. You know how I know that? I have been known to cuss and kick myself. Not often. But when the computer doesn't do what I say, it hears it. Y'all hear me? Do we not also segregate ourselves, layer ourselves? Perhaps it would be great for us to begin to not resist all of us. And if we see something that is a server that's hopeless, because the Sudra part is hopeless. The Sudra part can only hope for death. You've been there. The Sudra part has no respect, can't even look in the eye of the one who meditates. You know that person. That's your depressed self. Okay? Maybe we can learn to not resist that, but to send love and light to it. Maybe we can learn to start infusing all of us, our worker self, our ruler self, the one that makes decisions. How often does the higher self get in those decisions? I want you to see yourself working your budget. Dang. Is your higher self in there? Or is that ruler self in there? We need to have money for this and that and this and that and this and that. Where's your higher self? Over there, sitting down, waiting for their turn to have full expression in your body. Is anybody resonating with this? Yes. Okay. For us to begin to truly not resist life and to truly start to see the potential of ourselves as fully realized children of God, our eye on God law, our eye on consciousness, we probably need to start loving all of us. Just like Jesus said, rains on the just and the unjust. Some of you actually, even metaphysical people, actually have this thought. You ready? You're good, you're cooking, God's got me, God's got me, God's got me. Oh, I lost my temper, or I did something wrong, The connection with God is severed. Now God doesn't have me anymore. Do you understand? I've lost it. How do I gain it back? I've got to punish myself. I got to do penance. Instead of, nope, God was with me when I did that. God's got me, God's got me, God's got me. I'm going to love myself through that. I'm going to know what is my truth. How do we stop resisting? What is true for me? What is true for me? Stay in my lane, what is true for me, and keep my eye on my truth, and then become my truth. Keep my eye on my truth and become my truth. Then the whole thing opens up for us. Does that feel good? Yes. Does that feel like you can do it? Yes. And then when you start seeing things in the outer world that you want to resist, you can just say, that's reflecting something. Let me just love it. Let me say, am I missing something? Am I withholding something from myself? Let me just say, am I learning something here? And anything I love, give to love, does not mean I take it home and have it live with me. It means I'm releasing it into God's care. Okay? All right. I will close with this. Jesus lived his consciousness, and it was a consciousness of peace and non-conflict. He did not need to assert his ways on others or manipulate others to his end. His belief that each was a child of God, they would have to come to that belief on their own in order to believe. There is no way to cajole, to manipulate, to influence, or command somebody to believe they're a child of God. You cannot get there that way. They had to come to it in their own hearts. And that is what he did. He lived the truth that all are children of God. He taught them how to access that, and then he allowed them their own perceptions and expressions. And he left a gift of that love for the world. Yay, God. Let's do our meditation. Let's put your feet on the floor and let's just breathe. And feel that beautiful energy of God love just pouring through you. And Father, Mother God, we surrender in this moment. And I would invite that love of Creator just to begin to fill your consciousness. And feel the hand of Jesus Christ as he just lifts you up. And let yourself go into a beautiful place of peace. A place of peace. And feel the love and the peace. Take a moment just to see that part of you, that spiritual part of you that meditates, that priest of you. And just see the priest of you standing in front of you. How clear, how beautiful, how radiant they are. Some are bigger, some may be small. Just sense it. And now sense the ruler of you, that part of you that keeps everything going. The ruler that commands and plans and exercises and makes things happen. See that ruler of you? It was easy to love the spiritual self, isn't it? Feel how you feel about your ruler. And now see the worker part of you, that part of you that gets up every day and does the work without thought, keeps it going, labor upon labor upon labor. See your worker self standing in front of you. And notice the difference in consciousness between the priest, the planner, and the worker. And now, that part of you that has no rights, that part of you that feels no freedom, the part of you that feels trapped and stuck, possibly depressed. See that part of you. And watch your energy what you resist, the parts of you you are not happy with, the parts of you that you resist, that you want to build a wall toward. And I want you to begin to send love to that part that is trapped. This is the energy of your earthly being. The part of you that is human. Send love to that part of you, that depressed part, whatever it is, send love. I love you and I need you to be on this planet. I need you to be healthy and happy and whole. Free. And send love to the worker now. I see you. I appreciate you. I need you. Now love to the planner. I appreciate and see what you do. And love to the meditator. And see them now create a circle, hand in hand. And let your love begin to move to just flow until they can become one light. Energy flows and they harmonize into a light. I behold that I am a child of God, perfect in everything I do. I am divine in all aspects. Breathe in that perfection, breathe in that light, feel that you are allowing the divine to express in every moment. And there is nothing to resist. Send your love into the room, to the space. Let your focus come back to your body. Feel the chair that holds you. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes. Was it easy to bring the light to all of you? All right. As you go about your work this week, about your life, about your holiday tomorrow, let that beautiful love move through the totality of you. And when you go to work, bring the totality of you. And when you go to celebrate, bring the totality of you. And see how your eye can then focus on the potential. Say, yay, God.